tasty. Commentary comes from Martin Brundle and David Croft.
Where the drivers are put through every single physical exertion you could imagine. Last year, there were only 2 races he didn't win or was on pole for. This year, it's been 10 so far, and the best he can do is 3rd for this Singapore Grand Prix. Maldonado on the front row for the first time since he won in Spain. Fernando Alonso's only ever won once, from 5th in Japan in 2006, the race that pretty much gave him his 2nd world title. Kimi Raikkonen, is that Lotus out of position, or is that the best that Raikkonen can do down in 12th spots on the grid? Free tyre choice, of course, for Schumacher and from Rosberg, who didn't set a time in qualifying 3. Felipe Massa, 9 out of 14 sessions now he's missed qualifying 3. And then the battle, and an interesting battle today between a Marussia team who think that Caterham are there to be got at because of their new higher downforce package, and a Caterham team desperate to try and challenge Toro Rosso.
And the other thing, Crofty, is it gives you a few metres off the start, the stickier tyres, and that's critical here, isn't it, getting down. It's quite a short run down to the first corner, so a set of stickier tyres will definitely gain you 3 or 4 metres or half a grid slot. You can't afford to give that away, otherwise you'll be losing position once those tyres get beyond their reasonable life. And I think the drivers are going to have to be so careful in the early laps, not especially when they're side by side and getting a bit eager. Spin them up and you'll damage them beyond repair.
So as we look down now and see the pole sitter Lewis Hamilton and Pastor Maldonado alongside him on the front row, stopping on the top of the grid. 3 out of the last 4 Singapore Grand Prix, 1 from pole. The last 2 have been led from start to finish at the Ferrari hospitality unit as the medical car sweeps round, and all 24 are in place now. And the lights go on. It's the 5 red lights we're looking for. It's lights out and away we go in Singapore. Hamilton and Maldonado. Decent start from Hamilton. Already Sebastian Vettel covers Jenson Button. Decent start from Paul di Resta ahead of Fernando Alonso. Maldonado's lost out to Hamilton going through turn 2. And there's Nico Rosberg for the 2nd year running, going to the escape road through the first couple of corners. He was followed this time by a couple of cars as well, as Hamilton now from Sebastian Vettel and Jenson Button, and Maldonado's going backwards. But Fernando Alonso's got ahead of Paul di Resta as they head on to Raffles Boulevard.
Yes, not Alonso's best ever start. Maldonado outbraked himself in turn 2, and that let Vettel through very nicely indeed, as we see the Mercedes side by side as well. And at the moment is Rosberg on the inside, and that will now become Schumacher on the inside for the next turn 8. Schumacher's got to be careful of his nose though, up against it Romain Grosjean. Side-by-side action, no contact.
And almost contact between Grosjean and Webber as well. Grosjean having to be forced wide by the Red Bull driver, but for Sebastian Vettel, absolute perfect start for him. We're on board now with Nico Hülkenberg locking up of brakes ahead of him from Schumacher, just behind Romain Grosjean as through the Singapore sling. The chicane at turn 10 they go now. Up ahead it's Hamilton, Vettel, Button, Maldonado, Alonso and di Resta. The top 6 over the Anderson Bridge now, with Hülkenberg might have chance to get Rosberg on the Esplanade Bridge as they now file through there towards turn 14 at about 140 miles an hour.
Well, no contact at all from what I saw. Some pretty close action, but all on their very best behaviour. There's some contact.
Vitaly Petrov's lost his front wing. I saw there was a couple of cars behind Nico Rosberg that had to go through the escape road at the first couple of corners. That might be where Petrov came to grief. We'll get a little replay in a moment.
Somewhere in there, Raikkonen has passed Hülkenberg as well for what is 11th and 12th. So there's Petrov waiting for service from the Caterham team.
Felipe Massa, just while we're looking at that, Martin, has now just limped into the pits.
Well, let's have a look at it from this angle. But one of the Mercedes in there got a tremendous start. Looks like it was Michael Schumacher, actually, and came up the inside. Then they go 4 abreast, which is not going to work. So it's Rosberg who gets shoved off by the Red Bull and Mark Webber. But that might just work out quite well for them, especially for Perez, who's come along very nicely up into P13. Hamilton's lead 1.7 seconds. He's 6.5 clear of Button. Remember, Jensen said, hey, look, my car wasn't great in qualifying. It better be better today, otherwise I'm in for a long afternoon. He's now 6.5 seconds off the lead, and they're only on lap 5.
And now we start to get ready for some tyres, and it should be Mark Webber coming into the pit lane first. Our feet in the commentary box have vibrated nicely as Webber's car just goes within a couple of yards of Martin and myself. Not quite hitting his blocks, Mark Webber. And out on the soft compound tyre, which is, given the pace of Felipe Massa, not exactly a surprise.
Whether you have to be careful in this city. You get arrested for throwing litter around. But a bit of rip-off going off there, and it's fed him right back into the pack. That'll be a miserable few laps for him. He is literally back there, isn't he? So,
well, he's come out behind Charles Pic in 20th place there, Mark Webber.
There must be a much better logic to that than first appeared standing up here.
Well, we haven't heard any message from Mark Webber saying that his tyres had gone off on the team radio. But I suppose, as he quickly dispenses with Charles Pic, he's in the three-stop strategy window, but if there's a safety car from here on in, he's got room to play a little bit, hasn't he? And what happened behind Kovalainen? Kobayashi, and oh dear! Charles Pic, Timo Glock in the Marussia. It was Timo Glock hitting the wall, and Vettel getting the chicane all wrong. I've seen quite a few cut this chicane.
I think there's an early cut-off point there, Crofty, where you know you're not going to make it.
Sebastian Vettel to come in as Lewis Hamilton stays out for another lap. Now, the idea of the teams was to try and make a two-stop strategy work here, but to be flexible enough to cut their losses if it was going to lose them lap time. And Martin, do they have to bring Sebastian Vettel in to react to the pace of Jenson Button at the moment?
I think it's more they're thinking the long game, David, and they think this is the right thing to do, and it'll pay off in an hour and a half from now.
Down towards the Singapore Sling chicane, not a place where you can normally get past. How's Raikkonen's tyres holding up, Ted?
I don't know, but Hamilton's coming in because the rest of that radio message was that he feels the right rear is a bit strange. They checked the pressures on the telemetry, but he still said the right rear feels a bit odd. So belt and braces, no risk. They're bringing Hamilton in.
So Lewis Hamilton, we can expect him in the near future.
Yeah, he's lost 7/10 already on this lap to Button behind him. 3.6 seconds was the gap. That'll be well under 3 now. Let's not forget Maldonado's got decent pace. He's 10th quicker. He's only 2.7 behind Button. So after a difficult start, Maldonado's keeping himself right in play.
When we were talking to Sam Michael, the McLaren sporting director, earlier, he said this is going to be a fascinating race. I said, really? He said, yeah, just watching the numbers on the timing screens, it is going to be absolutely fascinating. Under 3 seconds for McLaren. He'll watch those numbers and think that's a decent pit stop, as out comes Lewis. And does he get ahead here of Raikkonen and Vettel coming through the first?
Tyres will be 2 laps younger if he is on the same strategy as if they have had to move him to a 3-stopper. And this is a replay then from on board. Vettel sweeps out through turn 6. Claims the high ground at the braking zone, doesn't outbrake himself. Cut to this battle, but worst case scenario is if you're 3-stopping and you get held up by somebody 2-stopping long first stint.
Here he goes. He's got a much better exit on that slow left-hander. Should be able to get Perez now on the Esplanade Bridge down into turn 14, which is one of the 2 big overtaking spots. Zoom past our hotel and zoom past Nico Hulkenberg in a few moments' time. DRS wide open, down towards turn 7. Yep, easily done. Car length ahead, wasn't he? Into the braking zone for Fernando Alonso. Runs a little wide, but not too wide, and he's now up into 5th place. Here, Hamilton taking the 25 points. Alonso would be 15 points worse off if he finished down in 5th place. Every single point is precious the closer we get to Brazil. Now let's look at Vitaly Petrov and Pedro de la Rosa going very much offline there. Petrov getting stuck, and oh dear, what's happened to Lewis Hamilton now? Stuck in neutral. No gears for Lewis Hamilton, and in a race that he was dominating and looking comfortable, it now looks like it's all over.
He's got some hydraulic pressure because he's able to use the throttle, but absolutely in neutral, as you say. You can see that in the middle of his steering wheel, the 0. Oh dear, oh dear.
Shaking his head, and for Lewis Hamilton, the Singapore Grand Prix is a cruel mistress once again. He's been out through a crash, he's had trouble getting past cars, and now he's had trouble reaching halfway. His car has let him down after he was doing such a fine job
Well, we talked about this being a pivotal race for the championship. It certainly is now.
Hamilton's race is done. Sebastian Vettel takes over the lead. Car in front of him, the second of the Red Bulls at the moment. Yeah, never want to tempt fate, but never finished in the top 5 in Formula 1 before, Di Resta. Could be a memorable night for him, this.
Well, let's hope so. British fans will be disappointed, of course, after Lewis. Jensen still in second place. Mark Webber's about to come in again, we're hearing.
Jensen, we are in the window,
So Button can stop if he wishes, if he needs to, but he's actually just set his fastest lap of the race so far as Jensen Button, whilst we continue to see Sergio Perez and his efforts to get past Daniel Ricciardo. He's holding him up a little bit longer than he would have wanted. Here is Mark Webber. He was one of the earlier front runners to stop Webber, came in on lap 8, so he's made these tyres last for 20 laps, which is about spot on for a stint, isn't it?
Since Mark re-signed, it's just with Red Bull, when he had a sniff of the World Championship, it's just not happened, has it?
No, that's very true. In fact, his starting grid position of 7th is the best he's had since Silverstone in mid-July. So it's qualifying. It's qualifying. It's gearbox penalties, but results such as 8th, 6th, and 20th. Yeah, rather backs up that theory.
Yeah. I mean, one of the key aspects of him re-signing was.
Oh, was he in trouble for that?
This is Alonso's best chance, isn't it, to pounce. While Maldonado's busy watching those ahead, he'll not know where to be looking at 180 miles an hour.
Not exactly helped either Maldonado or Alonso coming in when they did, though. They don't want to get stuck behind this train for much longer, otherwise you start to lose the heat in the tyres.
And of course the other problem here is they start overheating their engines as well. Pretty brutal through there, isn't it?
It's torture. Over the Anderson Bridge. Now, if Maldonado gets a bad exit here, Alonso can try and sling his way out of that slow left-hander, maybe force his way past that, now down into turn 14. He's going to have a go here, and he thinks he can get Maldonado, maybe around the outside under braking. Maldonado's made it very hard for Alonso. Good defensive driving. Back to Barcelona.
He's got better exit though, Maldonado, though. Pins him up against the wall, locks the right front. He'll be slow through the exit, but has decent track position. Now they're going to turn left. This is not an overtaking place into here, but he's trying to force Maldonado to go in there too deep. So easy to spin off or clout. The barriers in there. Maldonado totally on the defensive, and the cars they need to pass heading off into the distance. But Fernando Alonso thinking his moves. He's like playing chess, isn't it? 2 or 3 corners ahead. He's working out where he can pass the Williams. Yellow flags are out for some reason.
Yeah, just behind the 2 drivers who are watching at the moment. Maybe down by the Esplanade Bridge, where Fernando Alonso thought he could get past Maldonado, and it's actually Narain Carter-Cain coming to grief at turn 18.
That'll be a safety car.
Without a doubt, double wave yellows, but they've got to try and look. Safety car, they're thinking about it. Raikkonen straight diving into the pit. Safety car is coming out. Luckily, both cars can get going again, and there's been no damage as across the line we come to complete 38 laps and finally go racing again here in Singapore. Vettel leads Button, leads Alonso, leads Di Resta, and look, there's Mark Webber pressurising Nico Hülkenberg going into the first corner. Rosberg behind Perez there. Schumacher has a little look at Jean-Eric Vergne as well, and Kimi Raikkonen is just waiting to pounce. There's Mark Webber still behind Nico Hülkenberg as through turns 3 and 4 they go, and onwards to down towards Raffles Boulevard. Now Mark Webber will try and get a decent tow. Doesn't need a decent tow because he's got a much better exit than Nico Hülkenberg. They're almost side to side as they swing through turn 6. Webber's going to have to go around the outside. Schumacher trying to go around the outside of Perez, maybe. Webber can't quite get past. Didn't have DRS, of course, but now gets a better traction as Hülkenberg tries to squeeze him out and throw him towards the concrete wall.
Yeah. Nico Hülkenberg got his elbows out, but he's lost it now. He had to go so deep into the corner. Webber, though, we've got cars running wide, left, right, and centre.
Schumacher on Perez, now Kimi Raikkonen on Perez as well, who went very wide, the Mexican, and he's lost a couple of places there. Sorry, Rosberg on Perez, Schumacher right behind Jean-Eric Vergne. So all changing around here in the first half a lap since the restart. Webber up to 5th place on fresher tyres. You would certainly have expected that. And then Perez losing places to Rosberg and to Grosjean.
And Di Resta should be right in the when the oh, look at Michael Schumacher. He's blocked his brakes and gone clean into the back of the Toro Rosso.
He's done it again.
He did it here last year, didn't he? Exactly the same thing. Misjudgment.
7th retirement of the season for Michael Schumacher, and let's look down on high and see what happened. There's Verne making the move on the Sauber, and well, Schumacher approaching at a much greater speed.
That was a big misjudgment there from Michael. Big misjudgment. It wasn't just a... It was almost like he got way deeper into the corner than he realised, or towards the corner.
It does slope downhill, the track, at this point. But it's just...
His car was unstable, a little bit unstable, as he first hit the brakes.
What happened there? What happened there?
No reply that we hear. And when he locks up as well, Martin, you know, and the wheel's not revolving round. It's Sebastian Vettel out in the lead as we start lap 43. And there's the two Lotuses going for it, Raikkonen and Grosjean just squeezes and slams the door on his teammate going through the first corner. Round now towards the Raffles Boulevard they go. No DRS, remember, as we go racing again, not for the next couple of laps. So if you're going to get past, you've got to do it without the aid of the drag reduction system. Felipe Massa on the back of Bruno Senna seems very close as they get out of turn 5, and Massa almost wheel to wheel. Through turn 6 they go. Senna just a car length ahead. Under braking, can't quite squeeze down on the inside of his fellow countrymen as they head down towards turn 7. And out in front, Sebastian Vettel continues to lead from Button, from Alonso and Di Resta as we watch the battle between Felipe Massa and Bruno Senna. And Massa this time might just have track position. No, as Senna goes a bit wide, Massa goes and follows the same line.
Yeah, Massa nearly dropped it on the way in there, but he's been on these tyres since lap 33. He's up into the points at the moment. Felipe Massa, remember, he was last at the beginning of the race after what we think was a puncture. And this is not normally an overtaking place.
Oh, and they touched, and Felipe Massa just about manages to keep control of that Ferrari and still comes out ahead of Bruno Senna at the end of it. And there's Kamui Kobayashi waiting behind Senna to compound his misery a bit. Massa, Senna, Kobayashi closely following each other through that corner. We had seen Mark Webber in the background there as well, of course, who stopped for a third time during that second safety car period. Webber down in 15th at the moment. Perez desperately trying to get past at the turn 13, and there's damage to Perez's front wing end plate there. And why is he holding his hand up? Is he saying Nico Hülkenberg cut across me? That was wrong.
So he squeezed him, but I don't know how much downforce he's lost off that right side of his front wing. We'll hopefully get a close-up of that somewhere. And it's not the main plane, is it, to say the least? But I think it was fair enough.
Bit of yellow flags out, because I think there's a bit of debris on the track down here. Let's have a look now. Door was open. Bits just flying up, maybe onto the racing line. Here comes Mark Webber and Kamui Kobayashi. This time, can Webber get past him? Through the left-hander, he's forced very, very wide indeed. He's still sticking in there because now he's got the left-hand line, the inside line into the right-hand. And oh, there's more debris coming off the Sauber. And this time it's Kamui Kobayashi who's losing bits of his front wing, and he's passed by Hülkenberg and his teammate Perez. And now Hülkenberg might have a puncture, I think, here, because Perez and Kobayashi getting past him very, very easily indeed.
And Webber, all four wheels, clearly the other side of the white line to defend that position.
The constructors' battle, Red Bull 272, McLaren 243 at the start of this race. And at the moment, they're scoring 26 points, are the Red Bull team, compared to McLaren's 18. So they extend that lead. And there's 33 seconds difference between the two of them. A complete loss of power would definitely give Marussia the advantage over Caterham in the Constructors' Championship, and would definitely compound a miserable day for Williams, who could have been up there fighting for big points for Pastor Maldonado, but the hydraulics rather cost him. And We're down to under a minute to go here. Sebastian Vettel on lap 58. No, Senna is out. Has stopped the car. So Senna is out of this race after a loss of power. Not that our race leader will mind. Sebastian Vettel is on his last lap.
Yellows are out for Senna. Vettel has just picked up the pace, actually. He's in the 52s now.
Round the final corner he comes now to close down Alonso's lead and to win for the second year running here in Singapore. It's Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull on top. Lewis Hamilton out of the race through no fault of his own, and McLaren have to settle for second place with Jenson Button, and Fernando Alonso, who started fifth, still has a championship lead, still has another podium in Formula One, and comes home to take third place ahead of Paul di Resta with his best finish in Formula One